Man's Search for Meaning is a deeply moving and informative book that gives a unique view of the human experience. It is based on the author's own experiences as a Holocaust survivor and his later work on a form of therapy called logotherapy. There are 2 parts to the book. In the first part, the author tells about his time in prison camps run by the Nazis during World War II. In 1942, Viktor E. Frankl, an Austrian doctor and neurologist who was well known at the time, was arrested and sent to the Theresienstadt ghetto. From there, he was sent to Auschwitz, where he spent 3 years doing hard forced work, going hungry, and living in constant fear of being hurt or killed. Frankl's vivid account of the terrible things he saw and went through in the camps are both terrifying and inspiring. Even though he and his fellow inmates were treated inhumanely, Frankl saw that there were still times when people were kind and human. He thinks about how living in constant fear and uncertainty affected his mind and how he and his fellow prisoners found ways to deal with their pain. For example, he talks about how he used what he knew about psychology to help other inmates get over their hopelessness and find meaning in their lives, even though they were going through terrible things. Frankl says that while he was in the camps, he stopped seeing his fellow prisoners as helpless victims and started seeing them as people who still had choices and power. One of the most important ideas in the book is that even in the worst and most demeaning situations, people can still find meaning and purpose in their lives. Frankl says that a person can be taken away from their physical freedom, but no one can take away their freedom to choose how they feel about their situation. He says in his writing that this freedom is where people can find meaning, even in the worst of times. This idea was the main reason he and many other people were able to stay alive in the camps. In the second part of the book, Frankl talks about his theory of logotherapy. This is based on the idea that the most important thing for people to do is not to get pleasure or power, but to find meaning in their lives. He says that people can find meaning in their lives in 3 ways: by making something or doing something, by experiencing something or meeting someone, or by taking a positive view of pain. Frankl says that people can't always avoid pain, but they can choose how to deal with it, and this can have a big effect on their mental and emotional health. Throughout the book, Frankl gives many examples of people who were able to find meaning and purpose in their lives, even though they had been through terrible things. He writes about a young woman who was dying of cancer but found comfort in the fact that she could use her pain to help other people. He also writes about a man who lived through a concentration camp and used what he learned to become a great businessman and help people who were having trouble. Frankl thinks about more than just logotherapy. He also thinks about the nature of being human and the search for redemption. He says that even though people are limited, they can find a sense of fulfillment by being connected to something bigger than themselves. This could be a higher power, nature, or other people. Man's Search for Meaning is a powerful and thought-provoking book that looks at the human experience from a different point of view. Frankl shows how pain, the search for meaning, and the strength of the human spirit can be understood through his own experiences and the development of logotherapy. The book shows how strong and resilient the human spirit is, and it reminds us that even in the worst times, there is still hope and the chance to find meaning and purpose in life. One of the most interesting things about the book is how optimistic and sure of the human spirit the author is. Even though Frankl went through unimaginable pain and loss, he never stopped believing in people. He says, "What gives light must be able to burn." This quote sums up his view that there is still hope for light and growth even when there is darkness. Frankl's own life and his work as a therapist afterward led him to want to help other people find meaning in their own lives. He thought that everyone could live a useful and happy life, no matter what their circumstances were. Frankl's ideas about the human mind and the search for meaning have changed psychology and philosophy in a big way. His logotherapy theory has helped a lot of people find meaning and purpose in their lives. It has been used in therapy, education, and business, among other places. His ideas have also affected areas like positive psychology and existential philosophy. The author of Man's Search for Meaning is able to explain complicated ideas in a way that is easy to understand. Frankl's writing is clear and interesting, and he uses stories from his own life and the lives of others to show how his ideas work. He also uses texts from authors and thinkers like Nietzsche and Goethe to back up his points. In the end, Man's Search for Meaning is a strong and wise book that gives a unique view of what it means to be human. Viktor E. Frankl gives us insights into the nature of pain, the search for meaning, and the strength of the human spirit based on his own experiences and his work on logotherapy. People all over the world have been inspired by his unwavering optimism and belief in the possibility for growth and change in the face of trouble. Man's Search for Meaning is a must-read for anyone who is interested in psychology, philosophy, or the human experience.